Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody is well this morning. I'd like to share a story with you about why I only finished the ninth grade. I'm sure there are many people in my family who don't know this story, but excuse me, my dogs are getting anxious. But it started. Let me explain how the school system went. This this was a very small town that I grew up in Gilmanton, New Hampshire, and the elementary school went through the eighth grade. And then the students needed to go to another school in another town for the ninth grade. We were there for only a year, and then we went into the high school for 10, 11, and 12th grade. So this story began when I had graduated the eighth grade and started into the ninth grade. And because we were a little town, we were the outsiders. And as I started into this school, making, major adjustments, going to a larger school, we were bussed in. We didn't have parents picking us up and dropping us off. We all rode a big yellow school bus. And as we were getting dropped off, there was a student from that town, which was Laconia, New Hampshire. This girl had picked me out of the crowd and decided that she wanted to be a bully. So one day, as we were walking into the school, she started, calling me names, and she had several girlfriends with her. And I, replied back to her that she needed to leave me alone. And that's all she needed. That's all the fire she needed was for then the ninth grade. Every time I got on or off the bus, she was there giving me a hard time and picking on me. And I was just a little bitty thing. And she was quite a bit larger than I was. But I was getting on the bus one day, and all of a sudden I was pulled backwards off the bus. So this girl was, in a rage, and she wanted to fight. Well, being that I was who I was, I fought back. And I ended up standing my ground and beating her up and left her crying. But I was really defending myself because it was her and two other girls that were attacking me. And that was towards the end of the school year. Well, we went through the summer, and I was at home, and our town was probably 15 miles away from Laconia. And I was at the corner store one day, and I saw this same girl with her same girlfriends in a car driving past me. And as I was walking home, they would turn around, and then they would pass me the other direction. And it just being very intimidating. So I thought, well, I had talked to my mom about it, and she was like, well, just, leave it alone, and, they'll forget about it. And so I went about my life and about my business. Well, then the school year started. I was in the 10th grade, and I was at another school, the larger school even, the high school. And right beside the high school there was a chain link fence, and on the other side of that chain link fence was a grocery store. So I decided one day that, we could leave campus. I think we could leave campus. But anyway, I decided to go to this grocery store and get my lunch rather than going through the cafeteria. And on my way back, as I'm walking around the opening to the chain link fence, there's this girl, the same bully. And, oh, excuse me, that's my phone. Let me see if I can turn it down. So here's where the story gets interesting. This girl backed me up against the chain link fence, and, all kinds of derogatory names were being said. She was telling me to get out of her town, go back to where I came from. And she pushed me with her arm up against the chain link fence. And the next thing I knew, she had a knife at my throat. Well, I wasn't scared, I was mad. And so I kicked with my knee up into her groin, and then I ran like crazy into the school. And I was only at the school maybe a week. So I got home that evening and I told my mom what had happened. And I was just very, very lucky to be able to get away, because this girl was probably twice my size. And thank God the knife never hit my throat. But my mom called the police, and the police came to the house, and we were talking. And the police officer said, unfortunately, there was nothing that they could do because the girl hadn't actually hurt me. Well, in my mind, it was just a matter of time before she actually did hurt me. So I had to talk with my parents, or with my mom, and we decided that it was better that I didn't attend that school, and that's why I only completed the 9th grade. So I didn't have any recourse if I wanted to stay alive. Pretty much, I was a victim of this girl, and if I continued to go to school, who knows what she would have done. So I decided that my life was more important than finishing high school. And I didn't have the option of going to a different school. Like I said, this was a rural community, and you either went to that school or you didn't. So what happened after that? Well, a few months went by, and all of a sudden there was a newspaper article about this girl. She was a very troubled individual, and my decision saved my life, because this newspaper article stated that she had, this is hard for me to say without getting emotional still to this day, but she had lived with her grandparents, and she had had a baby out of wedlock, and she ended up murdering the baby and her grandparents. Yeah, just think about that. So this girl had a very sick mind, and because I made the decision not to return to school, I feel that had saved my life. So these are situations where, you have to step back and you have to really think, What was this girl's motive? It was just to make herself feel better. That's all I can think of. She was just angry at the world and had a very sick mind. So if you come across somebody who is a bully and you really feel threatened, perhaps it's time to reconsider whether your life is really worth continuing in what you're doing, or do you take a different course in life? So now, years later, I had gotten married. I had told you before I had gotten married at a young age. I was 17, and after I had 2 children, I went back to school. I got my GED, and then I went on to college, and I was able to go into the field of nursing. So really, it just postponed what I should have completed in high school. It just gave me a later start to my education. But because of that, I valued my education, and I tried the best that I could. Whereas before, when I was in the 9th and 10th grade, I really didn't care that much about school. I thought it was a waste of time. But now that I'm 68, I realize that, a higher education is definitely a path everybody should take, just for emotional growth, if nothing else. Just for social growth, if nothing else. So I hope this video helps somebody in realizing that quitting school for legitimate reasons is not the end of the world. Life does go on. You have decades to live, and you can correct your path and get your education and pursue a career, and things work out in time. So I want to thank you for watching this video. I'm now 2 full months in to my YouTube endeavor, and I would like to ask you to like the video and comment on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I would definitely like to hear your story if you had one that was similar to mine. But don't let the bullies win, and always make the choice for safety. Thank you.